So I did a piece like this about a year ago. The worst song of all time. It's a question that's been asked and answered a million times. It's been voted on. It's been the subject of intense debate. Like I said, I gave you my answer. But today's song, it's been part of most of the polls out there. Many, it's the number one pick. Yet this song continues to drive our culture decades later. We still can't resist its charm. The story of a number one smash from the 80s, this from both the co-writer perspective and the lead singer's perspective, is coming up next. Why this song still moves the needle. Hey Music Junkies, Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. If you love the music of the rock era, the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, you're going to love this channel of musical nostalgia. Make sure you subscribe below so you never miss out. Click the bell and all that good stuff. Also, check us out on Patreon. That helps us keep it a daily channel. We give you more content there. We also have merch below. Support our mission of keeping the music alive. So I've said it many times on this show, I don't believe in guilty pleasures. We like what we like, right? Music is and will always be completely subjective. To me, music is either great, good, or just bad. So when magazines like Rolling Stone do their lists like the worst songs of all time, I always have to take it with a grain of salt. Especially for a magazine that's critics regularly pan some of my favorite artists growing up. Toto, Journey, Billy Joel, and the like. But I digress. Rolling Stone actually named We Built This City by Starship, the number one hit from 1985, as one of the worst songs ever. This city on rock and roll. Let's be clear, the worst song of all time, it's pretty much being written 15 times a week. You just have to turn on Top 40 radio. Don't try to tell me We Built This City is anywhere near any of those songs. This song isn't trying to solve all the world's problems for sure. It's just a catchy little ditty with all the elements of 80s production that, if released by any of the other top mainstream bands of that year, it would never have finished in any of the worst songs lists. It's true. But, because it was released by Starship, who used to be Jefferson Starship, who used to be Jefferson Airplane, the 60s band that not only played Woodstock, but were part of the social consciousness of that time. They really were trying to solve the world's problems. Many just couldn't fathom that the Flower Children were playing so-called corporate pop rock, and they were judged much more harshly than other bands of the era for that reason. Truth is, I loved this song as a kid. I had the album. It just reminds me of the last few months of 1985, when I was obsessed with Miami Vice. I was trying to see Back to the Future for the 25th time in theaters.
He's sending Marty 30 years back in time.
I was saving all my quarters to play Gauntlet at the local pizza place, Mama's Pizza. Level now. Every time I hear it, I'm just transported right to those memories. It was written by Elton John's co-writing partner Bernie Taupin and Martin Page. Martin Page also wrote another number one hit that year for Heart, These Dreams. Martin Page, he would later chart an AC solo number one hit with the House of Stone and Light in the 90s. In the House of Stone and Light. Dennis Lambert and Peter Wolf were also credited. In fact, the song was Bernie Taupin's first co-write outside of Elton John to hit the top 10. With the powerful pipes of the always underappreciated Mickey Thomas. And of course, trailblazer Grace Slick. In fact, when We Built This City went to number one, it made Grace Slick the oldest female singer to hit number one, breaking Tina Turner's record set the year before with What's Love Got to Do with It. It's been since broken by Cher with I Believe. What's love got to do with it? Do you believe in life after love? The song re-entered the UK charts in 2014 after being used in a commercial for 3 Mobile. Say you don't know me. A cover called We Built This City on Sausage Rolls was the coveted Christmas #1 for the year of 2018. Like I said, this song keeps reappearing. It's got, the Chumbawamba effect. It gets knocked down, but it gets up again. So spoiler alert, it's not even close to being one of the worst songs ever. It's the song we may be reluctant to admit we like because it's been deemed as uncool now by the so-called tastemakers. But in a time where Drake is breaking the Beatles records all the time, it's kind of a treasure. Look at it this way. It's the equivalent of a Roger Corman movie. We just can't stop watching.
As dreams are made on.
The story behind it is equally entertaining. Very interesting stuff. And we have it. I interview Mickey Thomas and co-writer Martin Page, and they're both great guys. Up next is a story from both their perspectives. You're going to really enjoy it. Will We Built This City change your life? No, it won't, but it will make you smile with its 80s charm. As we get into this interview, I do want to thank our sponsor, Zenni Eyewear, the glasses I always jam. One of the greatest benefits of Zenni is that when you go to their site, design your own pair, you can do a virtual try-on with their mirror feature to see exactly how you look before you buy. And you can get up to 80% off of regular retail prices. Just click on the info button right up here to get that done. We got the deal for you. Here's the interview.
We built this city on rock and roll. Built this city.
Right after Nuclear Furniture, when Paul Kantner left the band, we consciously decided, okay, we're really going to shake it up now. Well, there's going to be a whole new way of doing things. It's going to be a risk. It's going to be a gamble, but there's no other way to go about doing this.
Right.
We're going to reinvent ourselves. So we did. We brought in Peter Wolf as producer with Jeremy Smith. We Built This City was one that my good friend Martin Page sent me.
Great writer.
A great writer and a good friend that he had written with Bernie Taupin.
A lot of the music publishers were getting very interested in me and my partner at that time because we were here and music was changing, styles were changing. So we found our demos, which sounded very new wave. They wanted to bring that into most American artists. If they could bring it to the Commodores, if they could bring it to Johnny Mathis, they would. And I went in to meet a publisher at Chappell's, a guy called Bob Scoro, and he represented Bernie Taupin. He said, "Do you know Bernie Taupin?" I said, "I grew up on Tumbleweed Connection." And then Goodbye Yellow Brick Road is one of my favorite top 3 albums of all time. He goes, "Well, I represent him, and I think you'd be good with him." And I'm like, "What?" A bit of dribble coming down the mouth. Okay. And he said, "I think you two could be really good together, and he's not working with Elton at the moment, and we want to get him away from the swimming pool." So I thought, that's a good life by the swimming pool. I wouldn't mind that. But they said, "We want to liven him up again. We'll play him your Q-Phil record." And I was like, oh dear. I don't know if the Q-Phil record's really going to get Bernie interested.
Take a 3, 4, take a ride.
But it did, and Bernie makes light of it, like he's the only one who ever bought it. But he said, "Let's meet," and we met at a restaurant very near here. He said, "Let me give you 2 lyrics to try," and the first 2 lyrics he gave me were "We Built This City" and "These Dreams."
We built this city. We built this city. These dreams go on when I close my eyes.
All I wanted to do was do the best 8-track demo I could. I didn't have anything to work on, so I went down to a little shop and bought Fostex 8-track, got a Jupiter 8, and did 2 quite new wavy demos of them. Bernie's lyrics on We Built This City were obviously trying to push the envelope into a newer, jagged edge. It wasn't really, to me, an Elton lyric.
#1 hit, pop hit, Canada, Australia, all over the place. It was top 10 across the world. And that was a song also that I distinctly remember when it came out and buying the cassette actually, when I was a kid in 1985.
So you're the one who bought the cassette.
Because you had the Walkman, right? So you could listen to it in bed.
That's right.
But Dennis Lambert and Peter Wolf, and of course you and Bernie, how did you take the lyrics that he gave you and turn it into music? I remember reading something that you had maybe done On guitar, piano to start with.
Peter Wolf, the producer, I'd met on different gigs, and he said, what have you got? I'm about to work with Starship, I'm about to work with Heart, what have you got? And I just gave him these 2 demos, because he took these streams as well. I'd never done this before, where a lyric gets given to you, and a lot of writers used to say to me, how do you write off of a lyric that's just there? You know, and Bernie and I never wrote together. It was always like as he was with Elton. And he faxed the lyric through to me, and I put it on a music stand like that, and I sat at a Jupiter 8 and started to jam. But the core of it was I wanted to do something which was edgy, a little modern.
We built this city. We built this city.
And as it's been reported in all the write-ups about We Built This City, and as Bernie said himself, the demo was very dark and funky. But yeah, the demo was very different, but the groove came from really my feeling of thinking, Shock the Monkey. I was trying to go dum 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 dum.
So I got the demo and I thought, oh man, this is really a cool, kind of quirky little song, you know? It's has kind of a nostalgic feel to me and a feel of lost innocence. Mm-hmm. And I thought, I really want to do this song, but I never, in my wildest imagination, thought it would be a single.
Really?
So it didn't have a chorus. When I brought it into the band, the whole, we built this city on rocket, wasn't in it. So Peter Wolf and Dennis Lambert, who was the executive producer.
And he was a great writer too, wrote Ain't No Woman Like the One I Got.
Yeah,
and,
man.
Ain't no woman like the one I've got. Oh, no, it don't come better.
Night Shift, another great
Night
80s
Shift.
song.
On the night shift.
So they said, yeah, we like the song, but it doesn't have a chorus. I said, well, okay. So they said, well, let's see what we can do. So then Peter and Dennis kind of came up with the chorus.
We built this city on rock and roll.
I saw the song as a little bit sort of a dark muse on live music not being out on the streets anymore. So I wrote it on this kind of edgy place. I know this, probably you've heard the story, but I just turned on the radio and I just picked up on the radio a police report from downtown.
That Golden Gate Bridge on another gorgeous sunny Saturday, and I'm seeing that bumper-to-bumper traffic.
And I just recorded it on the microphone. This is modern. This will sound good.
Yeah.
This is alternate. This is edgy. And it was on the demo.
300 volunteers. Their primary focus will be cleaning up.
And of course, the band turned it into that thing about,
The radio break.
stations, which was a great move.
It's your favorite radio station and your favorite radio city, the city by the bay, the city that rocks, the city that...
You had the different DJs that put their parts into it.
That was originally, that part of the song was supposed to be a solo. It was just kind of an instrumental passage there in the song. And our good friend of the band, a guy by the name of Les Garland. Les was one of the trio of guys who started MTV. Les started out years before that as a DJ in San Francisco on one of the more popular stations there. So he had been a long time close friend of Starship manager Bill Thompson. So we said, well, Les, why don't you just come out and do a DJ thing? And he says, really? I said, yeah, just go out, just off the cuff. So he did. He went out there and kind of, custom, because he had been a DJ in San Francisco.
Right.
He made it sound like, hey, I'm looking out over that Golden Gate Bridge and the traffic is moving.
Out over that Golden Gate Bridge on another gorgeous sunny Saturday, and I'm seeing that bumper-to-bumper traffic.
So we put that on the record. But then our manager, Bill Thompson, had the brilliant idea of, well, we're going to give different singles to a version of a single to every city with that part blank so they can all personalize it, whether it's Cleveland, Detroit, New York, Miami, Atlanta, whatever. And they did.
He was Abby. I'm Danny. We're proud to be with you on CBS FM 101.1.
It was a brilliant, it was a brilliant
So it
move.
was a good marketing move by our manager.
Your friends at the Q, the Northwest's hottest FM.
Bill Bottrell, he engineered it, and he also did Michael Jackson Bad.
Yes, he did. And you know
About
what?
A few years later.
Another thing, since you mentioned that, when we gave him the song to mix, the acapella intro was not on it.
Really?
Yeah, it just started with the dun, dun,
Dun, dun, that part.
That's the way it started. And that's how we gave it to him. And so in the mix, he got the idea of lifting the background vocals out of the chorus, flying them in to the intro, and created this a cappella intro for the song, which was such an instant attention grabber on the radio.
It was.
We built this city on rock and roll.
We started exploring and using all the new innovations as far as recording techniques with sampling, synthesizers, synclaviers, you name it, sequencing, and it was fun. It was like, wow, we have all this stuff at our disposal here that we can create, new ways to create, a new palette. And we really felt like all in reinventing and everything, we were just like kids who had just been let loose in the playroom. And you can tell it,
the cover is
exuberant, colorful. But even then, still, I didn't hear it as like the first single or the debut single from the album.
Yeah.
And so we finished the album, and I was thinking the whole time that Sarah was probably going to be the first single, because to me that was the most kind of obvious commercial song. So the A&R guy at BMG, a great guy by the name of Paul Atkinson, who used to be in the Zombies, and he said, "We built this city as your first single." I said, "Are you kidding me? Really? We built this city. That's it, man. That's it, mate. That's it, mate." So I said, "Okay, well, you know better than me. That's your job, And so they put it out.
We built this city on rock and roll.
Peter Wolf called me up and said, "Come down to the studio and listen to it." And I didn't like it when I first heard it, because I thought it was too military and too Germanic and to the beat, because I'd had this kind of funky beat underneath, you can imagine. But they made the right call, because it zoomed
straight
up
to the
chart.
top.
Yeah.
Went to number one, man.
Went to number one, first number one single on Billboard in the history of the band, going all the way back to Jefferson Airplane and everything.
Well, it was also number one in
Yeah.
Australia, and close to the top 10 in the UK, and it's just a huge record.
Yeah, Latin America. So it was a validation, really, for the risk that we had taken. A great time for the band, a real happy
The
time.
video is one of those iconic videos of the 80s. I remember as a little kid sitting in front of the TV watching Friday night videos, waiting for it to come on.
Someone always playing corporation games.
This band from, I think they're either Scotland or Ireland. I saw on YouTube, they did an acoustic version of We Built This City, and they're like this young, modern rock band. And they were doing this acoustic version of We Built This City.
To the radio, don't you remember?
It's kind of such a techno song with all the stuff that's going on in it keyboard-wise and all the samples we used and everything like that. It'd be cool if I could just do We Built This City as an acoustic version, like sometimes if you go do a radio. But I'd never heard it in my head how it would be done until I heard these guys. And I thought, it can be done. I got to rip them off.
We built this city. We built this.
I saw the version of it that the guy sang on the X Factor in Britain.
We built this city. We built this city.
It's been used so many times. Rock of Ages.
We built this city on rock and roll.
The Muppets.
Yeah, I know. The Muppets, man. That was probably, you probably got a kick out of that.
Yeah, I did.
And it's interesting because it's been in these worst songs, thing or whatever. But
Francis
honestly,
voted
that's
the
actually kept it more alive. People are like, people get ticked off. They're
Yeah,
like,
well,
that's not true.
One of my best friends is Jack Hughes from Wang Chung, and I think Everybody Wants to Have Fun Tonight was voted as the second worst record. So I said, you and I have number 1 and 2 as the most hated songs of all time.
And I love those songs,
I think what happened with We Built This City is it sort of became the poster child for a whole sound that was starting to happen and emerge and evolving in the 80s that just pissed a lot of people off. This whole term corporate rock cropped up in the mid 80s, And so this is like, oh, that's corporate rock. And I'm like, well, obviously you didn't listen to the lyrics of the song then.
All right.
Because if you would listen to the lyrics, you could see that that's exactly what we're talking about. That
Corporation games.
are against here. We just want to dance here. Someone stole the stage. They call us irresponsible, write us off.
Irresponsible. Write us off the page.
but you know, a lot of people just couldn't get past that chorus, you know, to listen to the rest of the song.
The thing that's so cool about it is it recharted because it was on a commercial in Britain.
Yes.
I saw an advert in England, you know, about a year ago when they used a little girl on a telephone advertisement, and it was so good. And also it had lost all that feeling of it being a Starship record from a mega band, from corporate. And it just went back into the charts again in England. People didn't see it as a Starship, you know, a record. It was just a record.
When those songs have that melody and that memory that pulls you back, you know, instantly people are like, oh, that's a great song. I need to go buy it. And what's cool about these days, you can do that. I mean, yes, I hate certain parts of how technology has devalued music a little bit, but it is kind of cool how a song can play on a commercial or like on Glee or something, and you can go and just grab it right then.
By the way, the people on Glee did a good version. They did a really good job.
Critics can say whatever they want, but when a song has legs, it means that 20 years later, 30 years later, it can rechart because it just played somewhere.
Yeah.
And it has that nostalgic pull with it. Hey, thanks for watching. Leave us a comment about this song below. What do you think? What do you think is the worst song of each decade or the worst song of all time? What's your top 5? Let's have a cheese fest here. What's a song that you feel guilty liking? You shouldn't feel guilty. You should like what you like. Anyway, let's have a great discussion below. If you like our content, we invite you to subscribe. We would love to have you as part of our community. Until next time, 3 chords and the truth, my friends.